Hi there, everyone. Just working on pulling up the meeting minutes while we wait for everybody to show up. I'll paste the meeting minutes in the chat in a minute. I'll just give it a couple more minutes for everyone else to show up.
Hey Nick, can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Beautiful.
I'm Matt. I don't think we've met. I am Nick.
G'day, mate.
Great to see you both here. Yep. Okay. So here is the meeting minutes. Now you need to join the working group, Google group, the working group Google group. This group's all the way down.
I requested access, but obviously don't have it yet.
Okay, right. Okay. I will check that because I should be able to. But I'll update the doc with the meeting minutes as we go along. Okay, so, well, do you guys have video? It is slightly traditional to have the video on for these calls.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. We will get started then. If you can figure out how to turn your video on as we go, then that will make it easier. Ah, excellent.
No, I just looked it up.
Nice. Okay. So let me just add everyone to the attendees things. Just for the agenda today, I'll just basically bring you all up to speed on what the group is about. So the LTS working group, although it sounds like it might be, is not a working group that's to decide what an LTS should look like. It really should be called WG-LTS, or are we even going to have an LTS, and what does an LTS mean, and what is the upgrade story, and a whole bunch of other questions like that. But that's a bit too long to fit in any reasonable abbreviation. So WG-LTS we went with. So where we're at is that we've been, I've been talking to, I and the other guys who are the co-chairs have been talking, and we've been talking to the community quite a bit to sort of gather stories and what people's impressions are about, like, why do people want an LTS for Cube, and what are the things that make them want it, and should we really be considering like releasing a LTS version, or should we move to something like the kernel dev try-in with a devel and a stable branches that get released at a separate cadence or something like that. So all of this is still open questions, and a large part of the reason why I wanted to push having a call in our time zone is so that we can make sure that I know there are people in Australia using Cube, and I know that having some sort of LTS, something like an LTS decision made will impact all of us. And so I wanted to make sure that we all had a chance to talk about it at an hour that's not like 4 o'clock in the morning.
That sounds pretty good because I've been having the conversations with people about most of the cadence of Kubernetes releases. In the past, the 3-monthly cycle, whatever it was, felt okay, but now it feels quick.
Yeah. I mean, once you actually start running things in production, that's what we found as well, is that once you're actually running things in production, you sort of, it takes you a few weeks to a month to sort of evaluate and make sure that you're not going to have anything change on you in the new release. And then you get it released, and then by the time that's done, like you run it for a month or two if everything works really well, and then you start the thing over again. So it feels like painting a bridge. With the current release cadence.
Right.
So sorry, you go.
Yeah, we're certainly playing an interesting pattern of where we do like N-1. That's the aim, just to be one release behind.
So given that Kube does Semver and it's a major minor patch, so you only one minor release behind or one patch release behind?
One minor release behind.
Okay.
So if it's 1.13 is out, we will try to be on 1.12. But then we've been caught by COPS lagging behind, which is a discussion at KubeCon already about the cadence of that and to be able to match. There's a possibility of a solution to that. But we generally can get ourselves up fairly quickly to it. But the problem, of course, is the ecosystem that goes with it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I see a comment from you, Matt, about depending on required features. I think that's quite fair. The sort of stuff that we've been talking about in the other meetings is that some of the actions that we're trying to sort of get ready to take is, number one, we're going to try and send out a survey of users of Kube to say, like, what is your experience upgrading? What are the pain points with upgrading in the 3-monthly cadence? And try and just gather information about what the problems are, and if people have any solutions. Stuff that we've talked about are things like maybe we make because right now the API guarantee and the deprecation policy says that API things can be changed basically can be fully deprecated in 3 releases, so in 9 months.
Right.
So that means that if you only upgrade once a year, you might miss a full deprecation cycle. Like if you only upgrade once every 4 versions, then you might miss a full deprecation cycle, and so you could get really screwed. And so, we talked about maybe we extend that out to 4. Other things that we've talked about are, stuff like, if we can bring more of the base constructs to GA, so that then there's less sort of change in the core parts of Kube, then hopefully this pain will go away a bit, because upgrading won't be as big a deal, because the stuff, if your pods, deployments, services, ingresses, and all that sort of stuff are all stable APIs, then the stable API guarantee says that that stuff shouldn't change. That is literally what a stable API guarantee means. And so that's probably one of the things that came out of the Kube session a bit, was that that sort of thing is sort of thing. I've just realized, sorry, looking at the things, there's a couple of meeting things. This is my first time running one of these. There's a couple of meeting things that I needed to say for the record. Firstly, it's being recorded, and I'll put it up on YouTube afterwards, the same as all the other community meetings.
Okay.
And we are, as always, expected to abide by the community code of conduct. Sorry about that. So once we sort of organize you guys with access to the meeting minutes and stuff, have a look through and sort of see what we've talked about previously. Obviously, the US time zone meetings are often bigger because there's more US time zone people. But yeah, so I guess for us today, I guess what I really wanted to do was just get you online and get us sort of talking a little bit about it, so that you knew that this is a thing and that you can pass it around to everyone to say, hey, if you've got thoughts about the upgrade process, and I have never met a Kubernetes user who didn't have thoughts about the upgrade process, then there is a chance to share them, and there is a chance to do something about the pain points, and people are definitely thinking about this.
It's interesting that like I said, I didn't really know about this group, but I did have significant conversations at KubeCon about this. There's, as you might be aware, there's a lot of things that are being pulled out of Kubernetes itself, out of core.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got the cloud stuff being pulled out. I think goal is hopefully around 1.15. And the other thing that's likely to happen is kube control. It will likely be decoupled as well. That was pretty close to being done. And this is one of the things that you often see is developers put down kube control from a brew package. The package gets updated and lags behind your Kubernetes cluster itself, and then suddenly stop working. Now, they were working on a compatibility of +1 -1.
Yep.
They will likely push this to +2 -2.
Yeah.
So that's likely what they're going to be aiming for, but as things get stabilized. So these are really important aspects that we've already had to deal with internally.
Yep.
These are the problems that we have to deal with. So it seems like the community itself is beginning to realize that there needs to be a wider breadth of support.
Yeah, I think sort of maybe in a sentence, sort of that may be like a good way to summarize what the point of the working group is to, everyone agrees that, we probably need a wider breadth of support than we currently have, but no one's really sure exactly what that means. And the point of the working group is to help us all decide, what does that mean? What does a wider breadth of support mean? Does it mean that we do something more traditional, or do we say, hey, this is a new world, everybody? Like, it means that things are going to work a bit differently and we come up with something new. About the version skew thing, and Jordan Liggett did a PR a little while ago that has now been merged, but it'll help you find it. In there, that's the PR for the updates to the version skew documentation. That adds an official sort of position on the version skew, like a version skew document that says this is the supported version skews between different cube components. So I definitely have a read of that. That's the sort of the canonical place that this sort of stuff is captured at the moment. Jordan, if you look at the PR, Jordan has a whole bunch of to-dos in the top of the PR that are basically a whole bunch of things that a whole bunch of SIGs are going to need to do. But as WG-LTS, we will be watching it pretty closely as well.
That's interesting to see as well. There's also been talk about the idea of effectively being able to say that certain components have been used by X number of companies, and at that point you can feel there's an element of maturity behind it as well. This is what they were looking at in possibly COPS when they were lagging a bit behind, and it was being working with newer versions to at least have everyone mark off if they were using it, so at least you can have some form of confidence that it was working reasonably well on what your issues might be if you're willing to push beyond the supported ranges.
Right, okay. I see. Sorry, just taking some notes. So COPS discussing, it's sort of blessing particular parts of the.
Yeah, and with the kube control guys, I was talking to them specifically about having multiple packages being maintained, as in the brew packages, not just deprecating an older one as soon as a new one came along and wiping it away, because you need to be able to effectively pin things as packages to keep older packages around, and they're aware of this issue as well.
Right. Okay, cool.
So I think there are many angles that are all realizing that, you cannot expect everyone to be at the sort of cutting edge of this. So you have to expect that people will be in different stages. Yeah.
I mean, I think also people are sort of like, in general, the community is kind of expecting to a point that the larger platforms will help a lot with this for a lot of people. I know that, and things like COPS and KubeADM will also help. Where the more they build support for making upgrades easier, the more everybody who uses them gets that, right?
But there's certainly issues as well, like, when you're looking at things like overlay, what's their compatibility with Kubernetes versions and things like that. And these are critical pieces, same with ingresses and so on. So you don't want to be sitting there saying, I've done an upgrade, do these pieces still work? You usually find out the hard way.
All those things out of core is just going to make it harder to get that versioning and that version skew, that version support matrix almost becomes more of a concern.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. we do have people from SIG testing and some of the other, and SIG conformance involved, and there's also some of us are involved in those as well. Tim Pepper, who's one of the other co-chairs, is actually the release manager for 114. So he obviously is pretty familiar with the Kube test matrix and how terrifying it is already, let alone as we sort of separate out pieces. So it's definitely stuff that's on everybody's minds. I also just realized when I'm writing the agenda that, sorry. That we need to actually introduce ourselves. I missed that. Forgive me for being a noob and running these meetings. So yes, I am Nick Young. I work for Atlassian in Atlassian's Kubernetes team, and I am a co-chair of LTS. What does that mean? I run meetings and do admin stuff for the working group. Yeah, and I dial into the 4 a.m. Wednesday meetings, so you guys don't have to. That's a large part of the point of this meeting, is for me to dial into the 4 a.m. meetings and then be able to show up here and be like, so here's what we talked about. So Mike, over to you.
Mike Laurent. I work for Nine. I'm a systems engineer that basically is part of the team that sort of manages the Kubernetes infrastructure.
Cool.
And like Mike, I'm here at Nine, one of the principal engineers that does stuff with infrastructure and platform delivery.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I guess for today, like, I don't really have much else aside from bringing you guys up to speed a little bit on it. I will, I'll have a look and see if I can approve you guys to join the group. Once it happens, I'll ping you guys on, I'll ping Michael on Slack, the meeting minutes and all of the important stuff, so that you can read the things. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, knowing that this group exists now, which I didn't really know about, it should be easy to bring a bunch more people in there.
Yeah.
We've got some private Kubernetes groups that I will put everyone into and see if we can get them across to here.
Yeah,
so
cool.
This is a really critical issue for, I guess, enterprises. This is more of an issue for enterprises than most others.
So the intent of the meeting today was basically to do that, was to say, hey, we have a regular meeting of this group now. This is a scheduled bi-weekly meeting, so every second Thursday of this group for Oceania time zone. So, please encourage everybody to come. This is a pattern that kind of this working group is trying out that other SIGs and working groups haven't really been able to get to work. So I'm hoping that we can make it work here and show everybody how it's done.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we'll make sure we'll get, for the next one, we'll have more people. We'll put our little messages out, and it shouldn't be too difficult to get more Australian enterprises on board for this to find out what's going on, because this is a big issue for everyone. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's why I knew that you guys were doing it, and that's why I was like, hey, help. I've been a bit head down actually doing admin stuff for this group and doing my day job to actually keep up too much with what other people in Australia are doing.
Awesome.
So, yeah, anyway, look, thanks for coming today, guys. If there's nothing else, then we'll wrap it up here and give you 40 minutes back in your day.
Awesome.
But yeah, please, if you do come up with anything that you want to add to the agenda, the deal with the agendas is you just add it to the next meeting's agenda. So I'll add a next meeting APAC time zone agenda item, like thing in the agenda. And so if you have anything you want to talk about here, then just add it in. As soon as you join the group, you've got edit access to everything. And there's a shared calendar and stuff as well.
Thanks a lot for that, Nick. Really appreciate that.
No problems, guys. Thanks very much. And I will talk to you all soon.
All right. See you later then. Bye-bye.